How should a man be right now in America? It's a big question. Different men will answer it differently. Nearly 6 years ago, GQ released an issue called The New Masculinity. And in that issue, they examined the modern approach to masculinity. That was then. Well, now, GQ is taking a fresh look at the topic in its October issue. The State of the American Male in 2025 is the cover line. GQ Global Editorial Director Will Welch is here to reveal what they discovered. Will, great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
I have so many questions. The survey is incredible. According to the survey, most American men have not used moisturizer, not even once, in the last 5 years.
That just means GQ's got some work left to do. Our job is not done yet, yeah.
So this is a prickly subject in this day and age. How'd you go about thinking about how to tackle it?
Yeah, well, in 2019, with the new masculinity issue, we were in this optimistic moment where men were kind of breaking out of this cookie cutter mold of masculinity, like the old macho thing, and really defining for themselves who they wanted to be. And now we're finding that we're in this moment where this idea that men can just look into their hearts and spirits and decide what kind of man they want to be, that's actually really confusing for a lot of men. And then you mix in the chaos of social media and the polarized political moment, and suddenly it feels like everything's up in the air. So we wanted to, with this issue, address the state of masculinity, but also offer some guidance for men, how to practically move forward.
How are men defining masculinity right now? Because we have seen it change so much over the last decade. You know, it swung one way. Some people would say it's swinging back the other way. What did you find about how they're feeling about masculinity?
Yeah, I think the important thing is, because there have been a lot of op-eds like in the second Trump administration saying that masculinity has gone back to where it was. And what we found is that masculinity is not just this pendulum that swings kind of between toxic and woke and back again, and that we're actually in this very undefined third place. And I think that lack of definition is what is leaving a lot of men searching. So they're turning to podcasts and different influencers, and they're comparing themselves to each other on social media, and all of that stirs up a lot of anxiety.
So a man my age has already lived through the 90s. I saw sitcoms then. I was marinated in popular. So there's only so much I can change or be different, right? But like my children, young men, the world is very open to a lot of different expressions of masculinity. What did you learn about Gen Z and how they are defining what a man is?
Yeah, I think Gen Z, you know, we have to recognize that they were coming of age during COVID, and also in this very intense social media era. So there is a lot of anxiety, but what we heard in this story by Emily Sundberg, where she interviewed 21 different college students, that they don't want this idea of older generations projecting a crisis onto them. They're looking to grow up themselves and, like this idea of new masculinity, like define their own generation's ideals of masculinity.
In your survey, though, it did see that a lot of young men are feeling lost. I think it was somewhere in the 40% range.
Yes.
Do you think that is because, like, as a young man growing up, you're told if you're a traditional man, you're toxic. You're also told you're too woke. Over half of the respondents in your survey said that wokeness has gone too far. I feel like this young generation is just being told no matter what you do, you're bad.
Yeah, and they're also looking for role models. And I think this is where, you know, GQ can step in and help guide a little bit and offer some leadership. And we published 125 etiquette rules, because instead of all this criticism, it's like, how do we be constructive? How do we map a way forward? You know, GQ and the larger culture.
It was interesting on the question of traditional masculinity. You had majorities respond to some pretty traditional definitions. Strong, confident, protective, tough, responsible. Did that surprise you?
Well, it didn't surprise me, but I think in a way, in some elements of the survey, you're seeing men sort of reclaim traditional notions, but then there are other parts of the survey that really feel like something new. So 85% of men saying they want to take at least half of the responsibility of raising children. 80% of men saying they're fine if their partner makes more money than they do. So there's this mix of like...
You have doubts about that?
I have doubts about that, but go on.
There's this mix of like, we're keeping some of the old, but we're also adding some of the new.
So I love the cover. Do you have any details on Glenn Powell's leg routine?
Yes, a lot of squats. A lot of squats and maybe a pair of prosthetics.
What
Just maybe.
What did he have to say about masculinity?
Well, Glenn was really interesting because when I was on a Zoom with him before the shoot and I was walking him through all these kind of like tropes of masculinity visually that we were going to play with for the pictures. And he kind of said, hold on a second, are we making fun of this like wild world of self-optimization and wellness? And I was like, no, we're not making fun of it, we're having fun with it. And I think for Glenn, it's like some of these new tools of wellness and optimization are like really helpful for him because he spends his day like jumping out of airplanes and doing stunts. And some of this new technology that we're kind of playing with in the pictures is actually like helping him with recovery and so on. But you know, he's from Austin, Texas. He understands this dichotomy between old masculinity and new masculinity. And so he was just the perfect creative partner for us for this issue.
Well,
Yeah.
you're the perfect editorial director of GQ. I know you
Thank
have
you,
roots
Tom.
in the old magazine. You come up through old print world, and like you really bridged to the future of what this magazine can be for all of its readers.
Thank you, trying to keep it evolving.
I would also posit that Glenn Powell is one of the men that uses moisturizer. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah. No, he's well preserved.
All right, Will Welch, thank you. And you can check out GQ's October issue when it hits newsstands nationwide September 23rd. And you can read Glenn Powell's complete cover story right now at GQ.com.